Hello, I'm Malcolm Hazlitt.
And I'm Janice Baker. So many Italian traditions are still alive in Australia because of the clubs and organisations set up by immigrants in the 50s.
We'll also be meeting an artist from Victoria, Sharyn Lambell, with an interesting story about art. Next on Our Time.
Malcolm.
Janice.
I'd like to welcome to the program today our friends Madelin, Regan and Robert Grafante. Hello and welcome.
Welcome.
Hello, how are you?
These dear people are here to talk about the traditions of your heritage, your
Veneto Club, the
Veneto
Veneto
Club.
region.
So that means that with Venice as the capital in Italy, is
No, of our region.
of your region.
That's right.
Oh, sorry, not the capital of Italy. What a stupid thing he just said. This means that you were saying before people came from there to here in South Australia in the 1920s.
That's right.
Originally.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Well, to tell you the truth, I didn't know it until about 11 years ago when I began a project interviewing people who had come from the Veneto, their parents had come from the Veneto in the late 1920s and had come to Adelaide, to the western suburbs, and had established family market gardens that were very successful commercial gardens that grew mainly tomatoes in glasshouses.
And why did they come?
Basically, the people came from that area in the north of Italy because it was very poor and the consequences of World War I were still being felt there in families, and there were quite large families in some cases and not enough land to sustain members of the family.
I suppose this is really the rich immigration that this country has had, because there wouldn't be a lot of people living here without those things happening, and our diet, our food resources would have been quite different.
That's right. I think the Italians at that time made a really important contribution to the primary production of food in Adelaide. Many of the tomatoes that were grown in the western suburbs, in Kidman Park and Flinders Park, were shipped off to Melbourne, along with celery as well.
Is that right?
That's incredible, but of course the same groups would have set up in the other states, wouldn't they?
Well, at the time, tomatoes were not really grown very much in Victoria, so they were mainly grown in South Australia.
Right.
And I should have said that I'm talking about a group of 17 men and one woman who arrived between 1926 and 1928.
She must have been very tired.
Well, later the men were joined by wives. There were some proxy weddings. Three people went back to Italy and got married. Yeah.
It's incredible, isn't it? We in today's society have no concept of that, do we?
No, we don't.
No.
I guess, you know, having the heritage that you have, it's very important for you to know how it all came to South Australia.
Well, that's right, except that my heritage is actually Irish, but I became very interested in this group of Italian migrants because I had friends who were Italians and whose parents were working in the market garden industry.
And also today, I think people have become more and more conscious of what their heritage is or was. Like, you know, checking back their gene pool and where did we really come from. And so it makes, I guess, a need for people to feel like you belong to a community. And that's been very strong, I think, with all of the Italian community groups. And there's how many Italian groups are there here in this state alone?
Something like 126 in South Australia alone.
That's extraordinary.
It is. It's absolutely
and
crazy.
Victoria has...
Well, I am not sure, but our sister club is the big, I call it Big Brother, the Veneto Club in Madelin. It's huge. It's very, very big.
It's amazing.
And there's a lot of Italian clubs right through Australia. I mean, Marconi in Sydney and so on. There's so many.
Robert, you're the president of this club in South Australia?
Yes, I am. I've been president this time for about 5 years, and I've done. Did it in '95 for another 5 or 6 years. So I've been involved for about 17, 18 years, on and off.
What does the president of an organisation like this actually do? Because, you know, we say that, we give people these titles, but we often don't really understand what is the job.
Well, the job is really a little bit of promotion of PR. I'm someone that I present most of the AGMs. I'm the chairperson at the committee meetings.
So it's a figurehead, I guess.
Yeah, very much. But
can you marry people?
No, thank
Oh, what a shame. There was a good
goodness.
chance for you.
No. I haven't got that good yet. It's coming.
I like it. So when you first started to get interested in this, what did you do and how did you find out what you found out?
Well, I began talking to a couple, Johnny and Eleonora Macchioro, who were market gardeners up at Bolivar. But Johnny's father had come in 1927, and one day he drew a mud map and he said, look, my father had a market garden here on Frogmore Road at Kidman Park, and next to him were the Pioversons, and over here were the Tonelatos and the Ballastrin people. And one by one I began interviewing the sons and daughters of those original pioneer market gardeners. And then I was lucky enough to get some funding from the City of Charles Sturt and developed a website. And I've had some relationships with people in the Venator Club who've been supportive of the project. The website now has 46 interviews on it with people who
sharing
tell
their stories with you.
We've got some
Fascinating.
photos of some of the people and some of the places. Let's just have a look here.
This is the Venator Club at its birth in probably around 74, 75. The club was built in 84. There was a book that we had put out. It was put out in. Was built in 84 over 84 Sundays.
Were they building the clubhouse there?
Yes, this is the first committee.
Yeah.
And these are all the people who volunteered their time and labour and material at times that were up on the scaffolding and did a huge amount of work.
Is this because they had a background in the building industry, or?
Oh, anyone who had building, they would help. If you didn't build, you were a fundraiser in any way you could.
Whatever you could do to help.
That's the entrance, and that is a fountain that once we first opened the statue.
What would Italians be without a fountain?
Oh, well, yes, yeah, that's right. Well, the line was sent to us from the Veneto region. He weighs about 5 tonnes and is currently getting fat at someone's house until we relocate him. That's the front of the club, or the entrance to the club. That was a monument to our Alpini, which is the people who fought in the Alps, and that was the first president. So, yes.
Did you say earlier that you're actually having to move your club?
Yes. The club started in 74 as a group got together and wanted to do something different. They wanted to have their own identity. They'd been going to other clubs already.
Yeah.
And they said, no, we need to do this ourselves. So it started with a group of people. They got together at one person's house, and that got bigger and bigger. Everyone put $100 in, and those days in 74, $100 was
a lot of money.
A lot of money.
About 1,000 in today's
yeah,
terms.
well,
about 10 times
even
as much.
more probably. But then they found the property, which was an old pug hole, which had been filled with rubbish and so on. Over 84 Sundays, they built this wonderful place, and in that time frame, we had around 700 members that joined.
Whoa.
Why do you think it's so important to have like a club room or a hall where people like this can meet? Why do you think it's become so important to reaffirm an identity?
Well, no. Well, unfortunately, the situation has changed. In those days, it was very important. As time went on, in the last 5-10 years, things have changed. The younger people are not as interested in that situation. We're trying to bring them back.
Well, they don't know the heritage, I suppose.
Correct.
Is the reality.
Correct. And that was a meeting place for all those people, the Marchoros, the Tonelatos, all of those are the original members of this club. So it's amazing, you know, Madelin comes out with all of these people's names and I say, yeah, that's a member. He was in the first committee and so on. And these are all people who have done something or worked so hard. So when we had to sell the property at Two Good Avenue, we moved in with the Woodville Football Club, and that's been a fantastic transition. We've moved together. They help us along with the functions. We have a lot of our functions there. They do a very good job, and yeah, we've had to educate them a little about the Italian way of cooking, or the Veneto way. However,
tomatoes.
No. But they're getting better, and it's getting better. And it's a marriage made in heaven, I think.
That's brilliant, isn't it?
Because it helps them.
But that's an integration in itself, and I suppose the thing that's probably fragmented everything is the lack of not the lack of integration, the fact that the integration of society has occurred so much, and like you, being from Italy originally and integrating into a society, not Italy, from Ireland originally, and integrating into an Italian interest and life, I suppose.
Yeah, some people say that the Italians and Irish are a very good match together, and maybe that's true.
both got
I don't know. I thought I was doing quite well there with my hands doing this. I was talking in Italian.
And they all sing very well too.
Oh, well, yes. And what we're doing now, the next step is moving into tradition. We've got the next thing is crostoli and frittole night, teaching the young people how to do it. Now, crostoli is a traditional Italian dessert, a little biscuit type thing.
Okay.
And frittole is like an Italian donut with fruits in it. Now, it's not a simple thing to do, but we put it on Facebook. We've already got 600 odd hits. When's it on? When's it happening? And
Right.
And that's with our Next Generation committee, because we've got a Next Gen. We wanted to call them youth, and I said, no, they're a bit beyond youth. They're 40 and 35 and 40. So we called them the Next Gen.
Yes.
And the Next Gen combined with the oldies. I'm not that old, but it's become, we're moving into the next step.
So for our lovely folks who are watching this, if you have this sort of background and want to know more, where can we find out more about what's happening within the community?
Well, right at the moment we are on Facebook.
Yep.
It's the Vendor Club Adelaide.
Got the address here, yes.
And we have the website that is not complete now. So we've got one that's very old and not up to date. So I would say steer
pop that
clear.
up on your Facebook page. And
That will be coming shortly.
Contact,
It's on its way.
Look, on behalf of everybody, thank you for doing the research and finding out so much information. Is this in a document that we can find on Facebook as well?
Not Facebook, but there's a website,
Right.
and the address I'm sure will be up on the
Right there,
screen.
yes.
And people can listen to the interviews, the oral history interviews. They can look at family photos and biographies and find out really in one place a lot about this group of Vanity who have been here for nearly 90, well, their families now, for nearly 90 years.
Fantastic. Thanks for being guests on Our Time. And we'll be back in just a moment with Sharyn Lambell. Where's Sharyn from? Welcome back.
Yes.
Hey, you might notice on our walls over there and there, we have some fantastic pieces of art done by our next guest.
We do. We're very glad for you, Sharyn, to be here and talk about your artwork.
Thank you very much
which is
for having
very
me.
nice.
Sharyn, you flew all the way from Victoria just to be with us tonight.
Just to be with you tonight.
Thank
yes.
you so much. Actually, it's good to have a Victorian on. We think you might be the only one, but...
Well, I was originally from South Australia, so I was actually
Oh.
born over here. So
you've come home.
I have come home.
Now, let's talk about the nuts and bolts of what you actually do apart from being a fantastic artist. We'll have a look at some of your work in a minute.
Okay, yes.
But there's a really special reason that you're here, because you're part of...
The Hughesdale Art Group, which has been going for 61 years. We celebrated our...
Did you start it?
Oh, that's
Do I
rude.
look old enough now?
70. No.
Yes, so we had our Diamond Jubilee last year and celebrated...
And Diamond's
60 years.
50, isn't it?
60.
Oh, 60.
60 years, yes.
61. She did say 61. That's all right.
It's all right.
We'll get there eventually.
I've passed that age, I think. And why did this group start? Do you know? Because you weren't there?
No, but originally what had happened, it was after the war, and we're actually in the same hall that we started way back in
Really?
1956,
Isn't
yes.
that great?
Through the Monash Council. So it was a small group that decided to do some community-based things in the hall. And they found that the art group was actually the most successful. So it started way back then with about 12 members.
And why was it successful? Just because of the number of members, or that they were actually selling
they
their
had
art?
a show. They actually had a show. So
Right.
it was the chap who started it was Cyril Henshaw, and he was an artist, and he decided to have this show, and he sort of had friends come along. They had their art show, and ended up having like huge amount of people coming in. It was
Wow.
more successful than other things that they tried there.
Really?
So they decided to keep it going, and it's still going now.
Well,
It's amazing that art has become, or always still, from the early caveman times to today, art tells the story of humankind, but when you consider what paintings sell for as investments, the art world is such a huge part of our life that most of us don't even acknowledge. You know, you look at the art on a billboard, or you look at the art on a TV screen, or in a game, in a video game, as we were talking about last time. It's just interesting how important it is in our lives.
And I guess people always like to put artwork up on their walls too. So
good picture that goes with the decor.
Yeah, that's right.
What would we put with a black lounge, Janice? I tell you what we could put with a black lounge, a piece like this, and some of the other pieces of your work that we've got. So let's have a look at them.
Right, yeah,
because I love the fact that you work with the backgrounds.
Yep, yeah, well, this is a painting of Tinker. I did this as a commission for a friend for her friend's 50th birthday, so that was a gift that she got. That was a still life. I've sort of gone into drawing, so that was actually at the Melbourne International Flower and Garden Show.
That'll go well with the lounge.
This one, we went overseas, and this is Lautrec. It's a 17th century windmill in France. And this one I had in the art show, our Hughesdale art show last year, and I actually got third best in show for that one, which was a bit exciting.
Very cute.
And ended up selling it as well. This is Ron, our president of the Hughesdale Art Group, so I'm into sort of portraiture.
And his eyes would follow you all around the room.
And there, of course, is my nephew, Jonathan.
And he's the director of our show, but you've got him with straight hair and he's got...
Well, yes, he was a bit younger in this picture.
Okay. And so he does perm his hair after all.
This chap actually was the tram conductor at the Bendigo tramways. I actually sort of saw his face and loved the beard and decided that I wanted to do his portrait.
Face, yes.
And asked him. This is Judy, a friend of mine, just to show that I could do women's faces as well as hairy men's faces.
This is extraordinary, this one.
This was just a cat picture that I sort of, from a photo that I worked from. And this one was another commission that I've just recently finished, and his name was Dexter. And this one was in the A4 exhibition on Herring Island with the Contemporary Art Society. I actually sold that one too.
They look like that.
This one was taken from a magazine of old people, that sort of oldest in the
Janice,
the world.
I didn't know you'd grown a moustache.
But that had a lovely story because...
oh, sorry, there you are.
What is wrong with you?
I'm just naughty tonight.
You've forgotten to take your tablet.
Obviously.
And this one I sold as well. It was just a sort of painting of an Aboriginal fellow. And this is the St Keswick's Church in Callander in Scotland.
What I like is that the technique that you're using, because it's pencil, obviously.
Yes.
What type of paper do you use?
Well, I just use a sort of either a watercolour paper or a 200 and I think it's about 220 GSM paper.
So the watercolour's got a texture to it, it gives that nice sort of soft.
Yep. And I like using 8 or 9B pencils, so the softer it is, the better. And,
You're almost down to charcoal, sorry.
So how did you start? I mean, have you always been
Well, I
into
have.
art?
As a child, I used to find that I could draw...
on the toilet wall?
Not quite. But I used to find I could do a good likeness of what I was looking at. So I just loved drawing and just kept on. At high school in matric, I sort of did painting. Then when I went to college, which I actually came to the McGill campus.
Oh, did you?
Yes, College of Advanced Education back
Where
then.
we are right now.
Yes.
Isn't that brilliant?
And I did my teaching course, but ended up majoring in painting as well. And then, just kept it going. And I had a bit of a break with family and work. And then decided sort of in the last 10 or so years to get back into it. And hence joined the art group and,
Can we have a look at the still life on the wall there, chaps? That's obviously not a pencil.
No. When I started off doing drawing, but then I did a pastel course, so I did a few pastel paintings. Then I ended up going into trying out watercolour, which I really enjoyed, but found it wasn't quite as forgiving as, say, oil paintings. So this one on the wall here, I actually did and put in our Hughesdale art group as well, and got best watercolour that year, so that was a bit exciting too.
Oh, it's fantastic. So would you encourage people, if they haven't painted up until now, to join a group like this group? Because they're all over Australia.
Yep, for sure. Well, like with our Hughesdale art group, I mean, there's such a friendly sort of supportive group that, we've seen our numbers grow. And yeah, so if anyone's sort of interested in artwork, they really, you know, just to get that inspiration and that support.
But also the social gathering side of it too.
For sure.
And the
definitely.
advice? Is there somebody there giving advice, or do you all share your own advice?
No, we do. We go around to each other's work and yeah, have a look at what we're doing and talk about it, or we ask each other about what we're doing.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's really a supportive group. We actually also have an art tutor with our group, Ivan Dinsdale, and he sort of takes classes in another room, but he's also there to sort of give us any advice that we need as well. So yeah, it's a great little environment. And our numbers keep growing, so we're up to about 70 or probably more now. Yes, and very
So
excited.
is your house full of your work?
The cupboards are. I have a few things on the wall, but my son also paints, so we've got his work up on the wall. Plus, I love other people's artwork as well. I get really inspired by what other people do. So we do have a few pieces of other people's work that we've sort of collected along the way as well. So
Have you got your own studio then at your
I do, yes. I
house?
have my own. Luckily, I've got the space and have a room that myself and Jacob, my son, work in.
Yeah.
And yeah, so when we get the mood, we sort of go down there. I also go to another little group in Wonga Park, which is where I'm living now. And that's just another little support group that we spend a couple of hours painting together.
So you paint while you're with the group, and then you take the piece home and maybe finish it, or
Yes,
start a new
yeah.
one and then come to the group for advice?
Yep,
Is that
for
how
sure.
it works?
Yeah. I tend to find with the Hughesdale Art Group, because I'm the secretary there now, when I'm going there, it's a lot of socialising and doing a lot of paperwork.
Right.
So I don't get a lot of work done there, but they're such a lovely group that I really enjoy sort of being there.
But in truth, it's finding people who have like mind,
Similar
isn't it?
interests.
And
For
do you
sure.
find that, is that how it works for you? It's
Well,
just having that group.
That's right, because I remember when I sort of had stopped, like when I was working with the children, I sort of thought, I need to get back into sort of the artwork. And I thought, if I go to a group that actually makes me spend time doing art, I sort of, you know, you put sort of...
Gives you the
that
chance to
time.
get away.
That's right,
yes.
that's right.
You make the time.
And you make the time, and then with like minds, you sort of, like I say, you support each other and talk to each other and encourage each other, and yeah, it works out really well.
So again, for anyone who's watching, and we hope somebody is, for anyone who's watching and has considered or always wanted to paint, you don't have to be good, do you?
Well, no, because in our art group, it's a wide range of abilities, like people who are just doing it as a hobby.
Yeah.
You know, we have got the sort of professional artists that are working as well. So yeah, so it's a wide variety of sort of abilities, and like I say, they're so supportive that, you know, it doesn't matter where you are, and if you do need the extra help, you can go through and do tutoring with Ivan. So.
Well,
it's
good
great.
luck, and you've sold a lot too, haven't you?
I've sold a few things, probably more so in the last 12 months, because with our art group we have our annual show, which comes
And welcome back. Look at the whole family.
We
here.
have all these lovely people. Robert, you were telling me that you have a lot of functions
Yes.
coming up, or you do lots of.
We
different
have a lot of
functions?
traditional functions. We have the polenta and quail, which is very, very traditional for the Veneto region. We have, I call it the Ridiculous Festival, but it's actually the Ridicio Festival.
Okay.
But that is a really big day for our oldies who bring their Ridicio, and we have prizes, and it's a big deal for them.
Is that right?
Do you have a dress-up day like they do in Venice for the
No,
festival?
no, we haven't had that, but it could be down the track.
There you go.
That one. That's a good.
I
I
Open
just
to
want a credit
suggest.
at the bottom for that. And you've got a special thing really this week.
yes. No. Oh, yes.
Yes.
The Hughesdale Art Group's got their annual Cup Week show opening on the 6th of November, going through till the 12th of November. So the whole week we showcase all our members' artwork, and it's for sale. People can come along, have a look, and see if there's some nice
And
artwork.
purchase.
And purchase.
Because purchasing art is fantastic. Have an original piece on your wall. I'm not an artist by now. Have an original piece on your wall. It can match the decor, that's okay, but you could also buy it just because you like it. And that's the good thing about art. It's really about what you like.
Yeah, personal
is.
taste, isn't it?
It is. What's your personal taste? in art?
I do love abstract, I
Do
must
you?
admit. I know different things.
Sorry.
Stop it.
What?
You're so naughty.
And you're going to continue to keep family traditions and histories of the people who came here right back in the 20s.
That's right. I'll continue to interview for a bit longer, including interviews in Italy. So that's
great.
really interesting as well. Yeah.
Do you have to fund that too?
I have, yes.
What a girl. No, but isn't it interesting how, see, you're funding what you're doing for yourself. You're funding, this is, you know, life, you don't know when life really only begins, because you don't know it before. We're all so busy trying to earn a quid. But life really begins when you start to learn to volunteer and work together with people. Isn't that the truth? And we've all discovered that. We hope you can discover it too. So until next time on Our Time...
Yes, look after yourself.
Everybody wave goodbye. Keep yourself nice till next time we see you.
Bye now.
Bye.